Hello creatives, I'm Joanna Penn from thecreativepenn.com, and today I'm talking about writer's block, one of those things that comes up a lot in the creative community. But actually, writer's block is not one thing. It's not a monolithic disease or state that affects us all in the same way. So I'm going to talk about the different times that you might feel blocked and what you can do about it. So first of all, some people feel blocked when they are writing their first book. And I think a lot of that is to do with not really understanding the process of how to write a book, whether it's a novel or non-fiction or whatever you're writing. There is a process. It's not just, oh, I'm going to write a book and sit down and do it and miraculously it's finished. There are processes, there are practices that you need to have in place to understand how to write a book. Now, I hope that I've covered a lot of that on my site, thecreativepenn.com, and there are lots of books out there to help you structure and write and get your book out there. But many people do need to spend a bit of time learning that. The second thing is that you are empty. It's not that you're blocked, it's that you haven't got enough in your head to create on the page. So for example, you might need to do some research. Every time I write a novel, every time I write a non-fiction book, I'm reading lots of other books, I'm watching videos, I'm watching documentaries, I'm traveling to places if I can, or going to art galleries. I'm always trying to put information in my head so that it will filter through and come out in a slightly more original way. But unless you research and learn about your topic, you may find yourself blocked because you're actually empty. So remember to keep filling your creative well along the way. Another reason for a potential block is that you're trying to write the type of book that you don't actually love. Now, I know this because I went to Oxford University, my mum was an English teacher, I was sort of schooled in this need that the only good book was a literary prize-winning novel. So for years, my block was, well, I don't want to write a literary prize-winning novel. It's not the type of book I enjoy reading. I used to have a very and I say that I do enjoy reading some of those books, but at the time when I was thinking about this, I was working in a job I didn't enjoy, but I was working very hard. So when I had relaxing time, when I wanted to read, I wanted to read thrillers, I wanted to read entertainment. And this is a very important point, is that the majority of book sales are books read for entertainment, certainly in the fiction arena. So romance, sci-fi, thrillers, mystery, these are the types of books that people read for fun. Non-fiction obviously is slightly different, people reading for education or inspiration, but again, there's a very big difference in non-fiction between a Pulitzer Prize winning non-fiction book and one that's written more for mass market. So one very important thing is, if you are trying to write a certain type of book, then stop and be honest with yourself. What do you really enjoy reading? Go and look at your bookshelf, whether it's physical or on your device, and work out what you really love. So for me, it was actually, I really want to escape into a thriller. And when I released my mind from having to write a certain type of prize-winning novel, I went into thrillers and it was like the block disappeared. I was like, I'm going to write the book that I want to read. So that might be another block that you're facing. So revisit what you love to read and then focus on writing in that genre. So sometimes you might feel blocked in the middle of a book, often called the saggy middle, for the reason that a lot of people struggle in the middle of a book. There's a couple of issues here. First of all, you might be sort of over the initial euphoria of the idea, and now you're struggling with the actual practicality of getting those words on the page. That's completely normal. I hate to break it to you if you're a new writer, but writing just doesn't flow from your fingertips perfectly every day. It is hard work. You do have to put the time in, and some days it just feels like a waste of time, and then you come back to the page and you realise that you did actually write a few good sentences in the middle of that. So the saggy middle, it's really important to consider, why you're writing this book. why you want to finish it, why that's important for your self-definition to say, you know, I am an author, I've finished my books. You know, it may be that you're trying to put more words into the story than it needs. So for example, I know this happens quite a bit to traditionally published authors because they are contracted for a certain number of words, which may be say 90,000, 100,000, whereas many stories are perfectly fine at 50 or 60,000, which is where I tend to write my full-length books. Or maybe you're actually writing a novella, like a 20,000 word book. So this is the thing, you really have to consider what your definition of success is and almost force yourself through that saggy middle period into the finishing phase. And I've got another video on the different types of energy that are important when you're writing. But this saggy middle phase, really you do have to get to the desk, get to the page, do the work and push on through. Another recommendation is to take a break. So I do find that we sometimes, well, I struggle, I'm a workaholic. I love my work and sometimes I work too much. And recently we had a week away in Italy, we went walking and then I went on a screenwriting course and right now I'm feeling really energized about the book I'm writing, How to Write Non-Fiction, and I feel like, wow, this is what I need. I needed a break so I could come back to this with renewed energy. And probably before I went away, I was feeling not blocked, but quite jaded, quite tired. So really listen to your energy, and if you need a break, then take a break. That might just be a day off, it might be a weekend off, it might be a week, sometimes a month, but really look at getting back to that project. Don't leave it too long, but if you are tired, if you're jaded, if you're negative, then go fill the creative well, take a break, do some exercise, get in the fresh air, and then come back to it. The other thing is always to revisit your expectations versus the reality of what writing is like. So some people feel blocked if they don't understand the idea of first draft material. So you might think, oh, well, I just can't write these perfect sentences. Well, that's because most of our sentences are not perfect when we are writing that first draft. We are getting the material down so that we can then shape it into something else. So that's another thing to keep in mind is, you know, release your words through doing timed writing, through, really just let go of your expectations around writing perfection, and that will hopefully help you through the block as well. Another thing I like to do is have two different projects, so not two novels. So I would always have a fiction project and a non-fiction project that I can work on at the same time, but not two novels, for example, because that would confuse my brain. So if you are really kind of over one project, tired, blocked in one area, go do something else, create something else, like my screenplay that I did for Map of Shadows. That the act of creating something in a different way helped me sort of release the feelings that I had, some of the negativity around maybe just getting on with another book. So sometimes a change is as good as a rest. And then there is the type of block that comes when you have finished a book. And this is a really interesting one, especially in the current environment we're in the independent author world, where the push is to write more books and write them faster. Now, that might work for some people, but I think the edge of that can be difficult for some people. So I found in one of my journals a quote that I wrote down after Gates of Hell, one of my novels, and I said, "My mind is completely empty. I will never have another idea. What if this book is the last one I ever write? What if I never have any more ideas? My whole life is now bound up in writing books and being an author. If I can't write another book, I'm finished. I'm broken." And I found that in my journal, and I now recognize that emptiness is what happens after you've finished a book, and it should happen because you should have given all to that book. So it's not a block, it's circling right back to what I said at the beginning, which is being empty. And being empty is great because you have given your all and you should be proud of that. But what you have to realize is once you have given all to your project, you then need the process of filling the creative well again in order to be ready to do the next book. So those are some reasons why you might have writer's block. What I would also say, a bit of tough love, Lee Child, the thriller author, talks about trucker's block. Do truckers get blocked? Do they say in the morning, well, I don't want to get in my truck today, I'm just going to maybe sit and stare into the distance? No, truckers get in their truck and they go trucking. I don't have much experience of trucking, but I understand the metaphor, which is if you are serious about being a writer, and if this does become your job, which it is for me, then you do just have to get in your truck, go to your laptop, go to your computer, go to the page and write. That is your job. So whatever you feel, the way to deal with these kind of blocks is really to try and analyse where it's coming from. It may be to do with the fears and doubts of being a creative, of which there are many, and I cover a lot of them in the Successful Author Mindset, which goes into a lot of the fears and doubts and issues that we go through. It also has a chapter on writer's block. So basically, you will have to go through some of these things in your writer's life. Don't get on social media and just moan about it for months on end, because we all have it. Yes, sure, have a coffee with someone, maybe talk about it a bit, but then get back to your work. You are a writer and you write. So thanks for listening today, and you can subscribe to the channel and also check out my books and podcasts and other things at thecreativepenn.com. I'll be back soon with another tip, so happy writing, and I'll see you next time.